Welcome to Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. I'm Julia Elliott-Brown, the founder and CEO of Enter the Arena. I'm a serial entrepreneur and an expert in raising investment and business growth. Our mission at Enter the Arena is to empower female founders to fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business with investment expertise and business coaching. Here we share the stories of inspirational female founders who've raised investment to inspire you to do the same. You'll hear their honest accounts of what it was really like to secure funding, the highs, the lows, and the challenges they experienced on the journey. And along the way, we'll discuss top tips for how you can be successful too. So today I'm speaking with Jess and Lou Alderson, the co-founders of innovative dating app SoSyncd. So what's different about SoSyncd? Well, it helps you find love faster by matching you with potential people to date using your Myers-Briggs personality type. Intriguing. Before setting up SoSyncd, Jess worked as an equity research analyst at Morgan Stanley. And alongside her role as CEO of SoSyncd, she's also the UK lead for women in tech. Jess's sister Lou was one of the first employees at Empiric Student Property, where she helped to scale the company from a valuation of 80 million to over $1 billion. The sisters launched the business in January 2020, so only 18 months ago. And in March this year, 2021, they closed an investment round of £700,000 to fuel the growth of their business. So super impressive, really impressive young entrepreneurs. And I can't wait to find out more about their journey so far, how they raised this investment round, and learn all about their top tips for success with fundraising. So welcome, Jess and Lou. It's lovely to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. To be here. Yeah, thank you for having us.
So, right, I am really fascinated about why you chose the Myers-Briggs approach, because I've done lots of online dating before and there's all sorts of different apps and everybody's got their angle. And I definitely noticed that people would put their Myers-Briggs profile on their dating profile. So tell us more about that. And also for people who don't know what Myers-Briggs is, perhaps you could explain that a little bit.
Sure. So yeah, Myers-Briggs is it's the most popular personality type framework in the world. It's generally more used in America than Europe. But essentially you have 16 different personality types and they consist of 4 different letters. So you're either an I versus an E, introvert versus an extrovert. That's the first letter. Second letter is S versus N, sensor versus intuitive. So sensors are more detail-oriented, intuitives focus more on the bigger picture. You're a T versus an F, that's the third letter, thinker versus feeler. Thinkers make decisions more based on logic, and feelers make decisions more based on people and values. And then fourth letter is P versus J, perceiver versus judger. Perceivers are a bit more, I guess, adaptable, flexible, go with the flow. Judges like structure and routine. So yeah, that's a kind of overview of, I guess, Myers-Briggs personality types. And then on the app, we name each type, don't we, Lou? So it's like so unique, so supportive, so thoughtful, that kind of thing.
So is the theory that people should be matched with people who have the same profile or opposite or different, or how does that work?
Yeah, so it's a bit of both, really. So we pair couples who have just the right amount of similarities to form a strong connection, and just the right amount of differences to create that spark, because it seems to be that neither extreme tends to work super well. So if you date someone who's so similar to yourself, then it can be a little bit boring. And then if you date someone who's so different, then you can end up not having great, I guess, conversations, really.
Yeah, fascinating. So a very quick shortcut to somebody's personality type. So what made you decide to do this whole thing then?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I used to work at an investment bank, Morgan Stanley, and the first 4 years I was working in London, and I dated an Australian guy. And then one day he was like, "Oh, do you want to move to Australia with me?" And we ended up moving to Australia together. But after a year, unfortunately, the relationship didn't work out. And at the same time, I was leaving my job at the investment bank. So these two kind of quite, I guess, big life events happened. And I decided to take a year off to travel and just like explore, learn, read, that kind of thing. And I been using Myers-Briggs more like in a work context, to understand colleagues, to understand, I guess, like friends as well, family. But because of the breakup, I then started applying it to like love, relationships, dating, because I had this whole year I could really, really delve into it. So like it was kind of makes me obsessed with it, and like, you know, kind of just wanted to understand why certain personality types worked better than others, or certain personality type combinations. And then, yeah, got back to London, and I was having drinks with Lou, and yeah, you can.
Yeah, Jess was just like, right, I know a better way to do this. And I didn't really know much about the Myers-Briggs theory at the time, but then we just started applying it to people we knew, my own relationship. I was in a long-term relationship with my perfect personality match. So that was quite interesting. And yeah, just applied it to family, friends and things. And I was just like, there's so much truth behind this. Like, it's amazing. And so we just went for it, really, didn't we?
Yeah, it's literally the next day I went to your flat, right, Lou, and we started working out how could we actually, I guess, move it forward.
Oh, it's so exciting. It's funny, actually, my last business I had with my sister, and it reminds me of the story. You know, we had the same thing. You know, we went for dinner, had a few glasses of wine, and by the end of dinner, we got this idea that we were going to launch a business, and there we went. But did you always think you might go into business together, or was it just something that happened on that day?
I honestly think it was something that happened that day. I think, like, particularly the jobs that we were in. So you mentioned I was in property, Jess was in investment banking. They were very, very different. And I guess we'd probably never really seen how it could come together. But SoSyncd has been really good, because actually it's not investment banking or property, but we're both using our skills from our previous jobs. And I'm an ESFJ and Jess is an INFP, so we're almost opposite personality types. So that works really well as well. We have quite a different perspective on things.
That's really fascinating. Okay, so you had a few drinks, you decided you're going to do this business. Did you think from the start this could be something really big?
Yes, we did. Like, we didn't really have much of a budget at the time, so we didn't know how fast we could grow, but it was just so clear to us that it was something that would be needed and wanted. Like, you know, there were people posting all over the internet, you know, I'm looking to date an INFJ aged 27 to 34 in New York, that kind of thing. Like, there was clear demand for it. But yeah, we, like I said, we didn't have much of a budget. So we're like, well, we know there's demand, but like, how will we market it? We had all these questions, right? But I guess we had like a huge amount of confidence in the idea, didn't we, Lou?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, like you mentioned, there's a big Myers-Briggs community online, but we saw beyond that as well, and how people that necessarily didn't know about the Myers-Briggs theory, it would still be attracted to them, and it would just work for them as well.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
So where did you start then? Did you write a business plan? Did you start building it? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, so it was really just, I guess we did research about the different ways of building it, and, you know, eventually found some developers, or two sets of developers, like some in India, some in the US, and started building an MVP. I guess we just wanted to get on and start building it, because we knew the build itself would take quite a lot of time. And in that time, we did come up with a business plan. I mean, in retrospect, I don't know how useful it was, because you kind of just work it out as you go along, particularly in the beginning. So yeah, just kind of started building it, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a bit of time while the build was happening until we actually launched. And so that was really valuable for us to actually learn more about it in general and things like that. So that was a good period of time. As you mentioned, we were working at the same time, so our time was limited in terms of what we could do. So I think that worked out well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really common and quite a sensible strategy, I think, to kind of get something going as a bit of a side hustle so you can still feed yourself with your salary. Yeah. So building your minimum viable product, MVP, first step. And how did you fund that then? Were you funding that through your own salary and your savings and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, exactly, through salary and savings, right, Lou?
Yeah.
How did that feel? Did that feel like a really big, scary thing to do?
It didn't for me, did it for you?
No, it didn't. I guess it just happened so quite quickly, as we mentioned. And I guess we just kind of knew it was the right thing to do. So I don't think we ever really hesitated and thought, oh, should we be spending this amount of, like, should we be spending all of our savings? We were like, yeah, let's go for it.
Yeah, that's it. We were just, yeah, like I said, really confident in the idea. So I don't think we ever really discussed, should we be spending this? We just did it.
Yeah.
A lot of really good feeling behind your decision to go for it. Okay, so you're funding it yourself, you build your MVP. And how far did your own savings get you? Did it get you beyond MVP? Did you manage to get the product out to some early adopters?
Yes, exactly. So it got us to launching the MVP. So I guess really until just over halfway through last year. But then, we said we didn't really have much of a marketing budget. Despite that, we actually grew a lot quicker than we expected and a lot quicker than we'd forecast in our business plan. So then we were like, right, this is now time for a proper product. But we definitely didn't have the money to actually build a proper product. We knew what we wanted it to look like, and we knew who to do it with, and we had all that in place. It's just we needed the money. So then, we raised 100,000 in August last year, which was it was like a safe, so a seed fast. So that was part of the round that we've just closed. It didn't convert to equity until we closed the recent round, and that essentially enabled us to rebuild the app and quite a bit more.
Okay, so let's just wind back a little bit, because let's not forget last year we were in the middle of the pandemic, which we are still kind of in. So people weren't really allowed to meet in real life. So how did you get that early traction? What were you doing, and did you have to spend a lot of money on that, or did it just happen organically?
Yeah, it just happened organically, didn't it? Like we did, I guess we've got a good social media presence. We produced some content. We did like a few things here and there, but really not that much. We did some posts on forums, things like that. It was all very kind of
hustling.
Yeah, exactly, hustling. Very bootstrap startup kind of things. And then because I think it is something that a lot of people want, it then spread through word of mouth quite quickly.
The challenge with that is you've got to have a critical mass, haven't you? You've got to have enough people on it so that there can be matches made. Was that quite hard to get going?
I think with the pandemic as well, because the app is more focused on deeper dating and more meaningful connections, I think it gave people an opportunity to actually take a step back and talk to each other and get to know each other on a bit of a deeper level. And I mean, quite a lot of the people on SoSyncd have actually formed relationships from different countries and different states, all across America. So we've definitely found that it's really just, I think, put into perspective what's important to people.
Yeah. So the timing actually was, rather than the pandemic actually was helpful to you in that sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That first 100K you raised, how did you do it?
That was, I guess, primarily through people that we knew. So it was just asking like friends of friends and stuff like that. And so that was through that. And I mean, that was relatively quick. But as I'm sure there's only so much so far that can take you.
Make it sound easy though. I mean, lots of people say, oh God, I don't have any friends that have money. And a lot of founders are nervous about asking people they know to back them. How did you go about it? Did you kind of just ask? Did you just phone people up, or did you send out an email, or how did you do it?
Yeah, it's an interesting point. And I mean, I haven't found it very comfortable to ask people I know. Sometimes it was old colleagues and things like that. And I don't know, but I imagine it's the kind of thing that probably men would find a bit easier to do than women. I don't know if you've got any views on that, but Yeah, it was like mostly like emails and things like that, really. But like LinkedIn. But yeah, so yeah, I didn't find it particularly comfortable. But I guess and it's also strange because now there's some friends that I didn't ever mention it to. Like I don't think they would have invested those, but a bit, and they've all come to me now and been like, I would have invested, and I'm like, oh, well, I didn't ask you because I thought it would be a bit awkward.
I love that, and I would like people to listen to what you just said there, because so many people are like, oh, I can't possibly ask people. I'm like, why not? Because if you don't, you're not giving your friends the opportunity to be part of this amazing journey, right? So
Yeah,
it's
I know.
You should ask them.
It's like
You always say no. It's like
it's something I regret, I think, is not asking more people that we know. And yeah, so like one of my friends' husbands said, why don't we invest in, Jess and Lou's app? Like that could have been a really great opportunity. And she was like, yeah, I know. And I was like, oh, just like, I know it's difficult when you're quite close to someone, you don't want to put them in a difficult position, but I think you just have to ask, right? They can just say no and it's fine.
Exactly, they can just say no. And what do you think of the point where a lot of founders they say, well, like people I know don't have any money. Did you feel worried about that, asking people? Did you think, oh, I know who's got money, who hasn't, or did you just ask everybody?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to know, right? As well, like, and also it doesn't need to be ridiculous amounts. It can be, like small amounts do add up. So if you get like, smaller amounts from, I guess, say like 5-10 people, then that adds up pretty quickly. And
okay. How many do you know how many investors you had on that round?
Yeah, that was just like a handful, and then eventually we had just over 20.
Okay, so yeah, small amounts add up. It doesn't necessarily take that long to do a small first round. You've just got to.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's just being bold and asking.
And the seed fast round, just for those people who are not familiar with it, it's an advanced subscription, isn't it? So that people they put the money into your business, but they don't actually get a share in your business until you do the next round.
Mm-hmm.
To be a proper investment round.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
In 6 months, if I'm not wrong.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. It's generally within. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a fast, quick way of doing investment too, isn't it? So you can get
it. And it's also, I think, it's quite good if you're, I guess, doing like a friends and family round first, right? Because they won't necessarily know about, valuation, and you want a valuation that's fair for them and fair for you. And so you don't have to set a valuation at that time, which is super helpful as well. Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. So you've got 100 grand in your back pocket, you rebuild the product, you're getting it a bit further out there. So what point did you think, right, we really need to go raise some more money? Was that kind of almost immediately?
That was, yeah, I guess that was almost immediately, but at the time we were still both working full time and we just couldn't. So essentially I did some networking, like quite a lot of networking, like literally in my lunch hour, I booked like networking calls. And then I thought, I basically started working on the app full time last November. And I guess it was like halfway through November, I had like a couple of weeks to just catch up on everything. And then halfway through November last year, like actually, properly started fundraising kind of like full time. But through the networking, we'd already secured a lead investor, which I think just changes the entire game, right? So I think that was quite good, like, just through these random networking calls that I've been doing kind of here and there, not necessarily spending loads of time in one go doing, we did actually find a lead investor, which was cool.
So tell me about your random networking. What does that?
Yeah.
What does random mean, and how did you do the networking? Because obviously everything was online.
Yes. So a couple of ways. So I guess firstly, ask people that we knew, or like people that we were working with, our part-time CTO, like if they knew people who we should talk to. And it really, like, actually a lot of it was for advice, like not even necessarily to do with fundraising. Maybe it was to do with product, like speaking to product managers, that kind of thing. As you probably know, things then they're like, oh, you should talk to this person, or like, I know this investor, and it goes from there. But I guess what I meant by kind of like random networking was I joined this networking platform called Lunch Club. So it's like virtual networking, and you say, I'm free at like this time, and then they match you with people. They could be like in the same country or global. So met lots of different people doing different things. And then eventually, met someone who was setting up an investment club at that time, and was really interested in the app, and it kind of all just went from there.
Wow, that's so. It's been a bit of hard work, but also some really good luck there as well, isn't it? Finding somebody who was setting up an investment club.
Yes, yeah, exactly. I said I didn't spend that much time, but like I've been networking for like months, I guess, in total. So it probably was like a lot of hours. But yeah, it was both, and luck as well, of course.
And you were still working full time while you were doing this, so you were grabbing time in your lunch hour then to do the networking.
It was a super stressful time, wasn't it, though?
Yeah, particularly for you were leading all of the fundraising and spending a lot of time doing these calls. I mean, obviously, the more calls you do, the luckier you'll probably end up getting.
Yeah, but it was also, I guess, like running the business at the same time. 'Cause, like, do you remember in the evenings, it was like really, catching up on all the day-to-day stuff, like, talking to the developers, like testing things, replying to customer emails, like social media, like all these different things that you'd usually do in the day was like in the evening, and then like trying to squeeze in some kind of networking calls here and there as well. So it was quite intense.
Yeah, I don't quite know how you managed to do it all. You're making it sound easy, but I'm sure there was a hell of a lot of work involved. So you had somebody who was interested from the investment club, and did they then make a commitment to you to be the lead investor on the round?
Yes, they did. And do you remember that moment, Lou, where and we're like, yes, this is like, it's just, as I said, it completely changes the game. So he said, I'm in for this much, and all kind of went. And then from there it went pretty quickly in the big scheme of things. Like, we had Christmas, which was a bit annoying, but everyone's like, oh, taking 2 weeks off, relaxing, and we were like halfway through the fundraise, and we're like, oh, just can't really relax properly. But I think once I think that is the hardest part of a fundraising round, is just finding that lead investor. I don't know if you'd agree.
Yeah, definitely. Once you've got a lead investor, it gives everybody else the confidence, doesn't it? But that first person to take the leap, it's brave. It's brave. But what was the due diligence process like with that first lead investor? Did you have lots of meetings? Did they look through all of your data, your documents? How?
Yes, probably like maybe 5 meetings before he committed, and that was like some of them was going through our data, like lots and lots of questions about lots of different things, and then he would send emails with like follow-up questions of like 15 different questions, and it was quite intense, but I think that's to be expected, really.
Yeah. Okay, that's really interesting. And so, do you did you find, what reaction did you get from lots of other investors who said no? Did you find any particular challenges, whether that's because you're a first-time entrepreneur, whether it's because you're female founders, because you're quite young? What sort of reaction did you get from the other people who said no?
I mean, I guess like one of the main pieces of pushback we got was, the dating app market is very saturated. There's loads of dating apps out there. I mean, I don't really think that's like a massively valid argument. If a lot of people are so unsatisfied with the dating apps out there, there's definitely space for another one that, I guess, fulfills those needs that the current ones aren't. Yeah, so I think that was one of the main pieces of pushback. I do think that just in general, female founders, like, do you need to show more traction in order to fundraise? And I think, when I compare like us to like male founders, like I think they tend to find it easier to raise at an earlier stage. Whereas I think, I don't know, I guess you probably read this study too about the types of questions that are asked to male and female founders, and 2/3 of the questions asked to female founders are prevention oriented, with like a more negative spin about security and I guess looking at more the ways that the company could fail, whereas 2/3 of the questions asked to male founders are promotion oriented and more positive about how they're going to grow and do all these exciting things. And I think that probably is something that I noticed, as well as I think, some of the meetings were pretty tough, and I don't know if it would have been the same if it was two male founders, for example.
Very hard to know, isn't it? Because you can't compare.
Yeah, I know, and it is. Yeah,
look out for it though, can't you? You can kind of get, if you're looking out and have a sense for it, you can figure out how to deal with those kind of questions.
Yeah, exactly. And I know it's so true. It is really hard to know, right? Because there's no point of comparison. But I think what I do now look out for more is prevention oriented versus promotion oriented questions. And I had a meeting quite recently. We're not like actively fundraising, but it was just, I guess, like an inbound thing, like building relationship for the future. And it was like very promotion oriented, and it was just like a completely different tone. And I don't know if that was because we closed the round, if there was more confidence in us, if it was obviously inbound, so they definitely shown active interest. It's a bit different when you reach out to someone, but I don't know what the reason was, but it was a great meeting. I did just notice a completely different tone when different types of questions are asked. But then I now am really interested in talking to I guess like founding teams with a male founder and a female founder, and asking if they notice differences in the way that I guess they have their investor meetings. Is that something that you've looked into?
Very, very common, where you've got two founders, one who's a guy, one who's a girl. They will really notice it. They will be able to absolutely put their finger on it, which is fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. And one of my friends, she's had quite extreme examples where they'll be in a meeting together, they're co-CEOs, and she'll answer a question and the investor will just speak to her male co-founder and just essentially ignore her. It's quite shocking, really.
It's quite shocking, but it's the way things are, and things are changing. But I think if we can look out for it and take ownership of that and flip those questions around, then we can definitely break through, which you clearly have done. So Lou, kind of what role did you play when it came to the fundraising? Were you hauled in for certain parts of it, or kind of how did it work with the two of you?
I was hauled in for a few different meetings, but really I was just focusing on the day-to-day. Like Jess mentioned earlier, we have put a big focus on community, and also really, responding to all of the people's emails. We really welcome feedback. So we really try and engage with the people on our app as much as possible, and then also social media and things like that. So just keeping that going, really, while Jess was
and the developers, right, like that kind of thing as well. So there's definitely more than enough to do with two of us. So I think it was just a super busy time for both of us in different ways, really.
So divide and conquer, that was your strategy.
Yeah, exactly. And I definitely see how or why most co-founding teams don't have all the co-founders or both co-founders go to the kind of fundraising meetings, because you just can't really take that amount of time out of the day for both or all people. You met our lead investor and things like that before he committed, right, Lou? But
and also Jessica was Jessica started working full-time for SoSyncd in November, and then with your main focus on the fundraising, then we both agreed, actually I think we both agreed before then, that we needed me to work full-time as well. So I actually started working full-time a bit later than Jessica, but in January. So then that's when it kind of, you were really doing all fundraising stuff, and it was very much day to day.
Great.
Both made that big leap out of sort of proper jobs before we got the fundraise done. I mean, did that feel like a no-brainer to you, or did that feel like a big risky point for you two?
I honestly feel like it was a no-brainer. I mean, we were both really, it was then or never essentially, and we were like, right, we know we can do this really, really well. Let's just do it. Let's take a bit of a risk, but we were just really confident. And I think obviously we weren't really taking any money in the few months until we raised, but you know, that was a sacrifice we were willing to make at that point. I mean, we'd been working to fund it so far, so actually it didn't really make any difference.
Something I'm really picking up from both of you is just your confidence throughout, you know, right from the start all the way through this, which I think radiates and clearly has attracted investors to you. Would you say that do you think that's a key thing for you guys?
Yeah, I think so. I think we have like a quiet confidence, really, don't we, Lou? And yeah, like I guess maybe compared to some other founders, we're not going to like go into a meeting like really like, you know, out there. But hopefully our kind of quieter confidence shows through.
Yeah, I think that's really nice because, you know, I think some founders worry that they don't have the confidence and they need to act in a certain way, and you know, to get the attention of investors. But I think that's not true. I think the most important thing is that you're authentic.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point actually, because I read some studies about, you know, different mannerisms that work better in fundraising meetings, and you know, I read some things that I guess like more typically masculine traits tend to result in you know, I guess better fundraising processes or faster. And I did have this like crisis like halfway through the fundraise where I was like, do I just need to be a bit different? Like, do I just need to act differently? And I talked to one of my mentors about it, and he was like, no, like, don't, like, you are you do have to be authentic. And, you know, if an investor says no because you're you, then they don't deserve to invest in the company. So yeah. And then also, yeah, I was like thinking about it. I was like, I just don't think I could like put on a front as such, or like such an extreme front in an investment meeting, because a lot of them are super intense, right? Like they're quite draining. They take a lot out of you. It's like a kind of like mental sparring session sometimes. So to be like thinking about, oh, I need to do this and that, and thinking about your answers and what they're saying, I just don't think would have been possible, really.
Did you ever ask an investor to do a Myers-Briggs test before you met them?
Not before I met them. I definitely have in meetings, and I've definitely like guessed quite a few investors, Myers-Briggs types. Quite a lot of them knew them already. So at the end of the meeting, I'd be like, "Can I guess?" Because it's quite helpful, right? And
I mean, having that kind of fun conversation with an investor is really revealing, because of course you're trying to find investors that are a good fit for you, that are in sync with you.
Yeah.
So actually, that personality profiling is fascinating. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, and it's interesting because there's definitely some personality types who are much more likely to be investors. Like there's certain ones that are actually super rare in the overall population, but are super common with investors. So yeah, that was quite interesting as well. And I also noticed there's some personality types that I tend to get on better with in fundraising meetings than others. It doesn't always correlate with like the ones that I get on better with on a personal level. But yeah, I thought that was quite interesting as well.
Yeah, wow. Okay. But quite a good size raise, 700k. Really, yeah. You must be very proud of having achieved that. It's not easy, mind you. It's not easy to raise any amount of money, whether it's 200 or 500 or 2 million. You know, it's never easy. Did it, once you got that lead investor, You said it got a bit easier then to close the round. So then did you, how many other investors did you get on board in that round, and what sort of investors were they, so we know the structure of it?
Yeah, so it was just over 20 in total. So yeah, had the investment club as the lead investor, and then we had a family office invest as well. That was quite a long process, like quite a few meetings, and then we had like a kind of micro VC invest from the US, and angel investors. So we had like a whole range of different types of investors. So we've had all kinds of, like, I guess, different interactions, which has been quite interesting.
You must have learnt a lot through that process, because all very different types with different motivations. What were your key takeaways from that in terms of the difference between, let's say, a family office, US based investors, and then angel investors? What did you notice?
Yeah, I mean, I think they do ask like quite different questions. I think the VC and the family office like were more interested about seeing kind of like data track record, and kind of drawing conclusions of their own from that. So yeah, and then angel investors, I guess it just varied so much, right? They're individuals, and so just a completely kind of like broad range. So yeah, hard to kind of say for that one, but yeah, just all very different.
So 20 investors. Was it hard to close the round? Was it like herding sheep? What was the process?
Yeah. It was not easy, was it, Lou?
No, and it was right at the end of March, before the Easter bank holiday, which was then right after was the new tax year. So there was a deadline.
Yeah, so it was a lot harder than I ever thought. Like we had like extra complications, like, you know, extreme anti-money laundering checks from money coming from abroad. We had things that weren't accepted because they were from TransferWise and stuff like that, and genuinely took like 8 weeks, I think, to actually, from like finalizing commitments to actually closing the round. And it's just something that I'd never even considered could happen or would happen. And yeah, as Lou said, you know, like it had to close in the previous tax year, so we're under this like a lot of pressure. But it was like, and then, you know, there was a transfer that kind of went missing, and then all these institutions said that they didn't know where it was, and it was a lot of money. And so, you know, we were very distracted for those 8 weeks.
That kind of thing can happen in this day and age, that money can just go into a black hole somewhere.
I know, yeah. And so like
isn't it? It's hard work.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realise how hard that last piece is, and it actually can fall apart very easily.
Well, that's it. It's like, you know, you hear stories about it all falling apart at the last minute, and like, yeah. And then we also had like an investor, unfortunately, with like personal issues, who couldn't invest because he had some like quite dramatic like personal circumstance changes. So it's just kind of like
doing all of this in a pandemic when there is all sorts of uncertainty going on.
Yeah, exactly. So it was literally the last day of the previous tax year that we issued the share certificates, and we're like sitting together where we were like,
what did you do? What did you do when you actually got the money in the bank? Did you please tell me you did something to celebrate? Did you open a bottle of champagne? What did you do?
Yeah, I'm sure we did.
We were in Cornwall, right? So we had drinks with mum and dad and
with our parents, who have been through it all with us. So
I mean, if I end up having one child that's an entrepreneur, never mind two. Have your family been really supportive throughout all of this?
Yeah, they've been unbelievably supportive. Jessica and I spent the first lockdown in Cornwall with them, so that was like a 6-month period. So that was, I mean, that was when we were working full time as well. So that actually really helped being together for those 6 months. But they've just been really supportive, haven't they?
Yeah, like couldn't be more supportive. We're super lucky to have them, like you know, on a daily basis, and just bigger picture. They've never, you know, questioned, is this the right thing that you're doing, and that kind of thing. They're just great, really.
Yeah, that makes all the difference, doesn't it? If you've got good people around you, who are there to sort of hold you and support you and encourage you. It just sees you through all the really shitty times.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's I mean, I feel like both of us are super lucky, A, to have each other, right, Lou, and B, to have a supportive family, and C, you know, supportive friends, boyfriend, that kind of thing. It does make a massive difference. Like I think, you know, founders without that, I guess, like immediate and close support network, it must be tough sometimes.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like you said, we have each other. I mean, we are in constant contact. I speak to Jessica more than I speak to my boyfriend who I live with. Like we experience the daily roller coaster together, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, you had that too.
You remember to be sisters? Because I remember with my sister, when we were in business, we talked about business all the time, and actually when my sister stepped out of the business, we were like, oh my God, we can be sisters again. We've forgotten what it was like. Do you still get the chance to do some fun stuff and not talk about work? No.
It always ends up coming back to work because there's always so much to talk about and discuss, and there's just not enough hours in the day. So when we are together, that is what we want to talk about. But I think, like, if we're going out for dinner with our parents and my boyfriend, who already hear about it a lot but probably aren't quite as invested as we are, I think that's when we say, okay, right, no SoSyncd chat tonight. So we try and spare other people as much as possible, but it's not always possible either.
Yeah, I think, that's a good point. Like special occasions, like, going out for dinner with other people, like we don't talk about work the whole time. But when it's just us two together, like Lou said, we pretty much do, because it's just so much to talk about and so much to do. And, you know, we drove to Cornwall and back, or drove to Cornwall a couple of weeks ago. And, you know, the entire car journey of like 5-6 hours, we were just like talking about all these different work things, and there was still so much more to talk about. But it's fun as well.
Yeah, exactly. You're obviously incredibly passionate about it. So before I ask you what's next for SoSyncd, I just really wanted to ask you, Jess, a bit more about your role as the UK lead for Women in Tech. So tell us a bit more about that, and tell us more about what that organisation is doing.
Yeah, so I joined Women in Tech at the beginning of this year, just as we were closing the funding round, and essentially kind of rebuilding the team from scratch. And kind of now it's a team of 17 people already. So it's growing quite quickly, and we've got lots of different initiatives. So bigger picture, Women in Tech is a non-profit global organization that aims to promote equal opportunities in STEM. And specifically, the goal is to empower 5 million women in STEM by 2030. And set up by a wonderful woman called Ayumi. And there's just a lot going on in different countries. And I mean, we are at the moment setting up a mentorship scheme, because that's something that I guess, like, I'm really passionate about, and the broader team is really passionate about, is I think when you are a minority of some sort, whether that's in an industry, whether that's, you know, as a founder, in lots of different ways, I think having mentors can really, really make a difference. So that's something that we're doing at the moment. We are also, hopefully this will start quite soon, but looking to go into schools and talk to girls of quite a young age and kind of show them the exciting potential career opportunities within STEM. Because I guess you probably have some thoughts on this too, Julia, but I just think there needs to be more role models, and then it will hopefully happen more naturally. Of course, it's not the right route for everyone. That's also the other thing, you know, not every woman should work in STEM, but I think it's just important for people, or girls of a young age, to realize that it is definitely a feasible route if they do want to do that. And then we've got,
I mean, I think, and that's one of the reasons why we have this podcast, is to, I mean, obviously it's not STEM specific, but is showcasing all the amazing women like you who are doing it and rocking it and kind of showing how possible it is. So the earlier the better, because it's incredible how early girls' views are formed about what options there are available to them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's exactly what I guess us as a broader team think. It's like the earlier you can kind of, I guess, show people that this is something you can do, the faster it will feed through, really. So
I'm not sure how on earth you have time to do that as well as build SoSyncd, but amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot, isn't it? But it's great, like really amazing team, and now got, I guess, like heads of teams, so they kind of manage the teams themselves. So yeah, that definitely helps.
So what is next for SoSyncd, Lou? What are you working on? What's all this investment you've raised going to be used for?
So at the moment, well, we're pre-revenue at the moment. So really the big next focus is the paid membership package. So we're starting work on that now, and we're hoping to have that out in the next few months, really. That's really the focus. And then marketing. We've spent the last couple of months focusing on product, and then started marketing this month. So we're really excited.
Yeah, I bet you are. What sort of marketing are you going to be doing? Is it social media or what?
Yes, so we'll do digital marketing, social media campaigns, and see what opportunities there are when life opens up as well.
Oh, that's right. Everybody's going to be desperate to go on all these dates. I mean, it's going to be blurry.
Yeah.
Exciting. And you've got a US investor. Does that mean that the US is already part of your user base, or a plan for the future?
Yeah, it already is, isn't it, Lou? So the US is our biggest market by far. It's 3 times bigger than our second biggest market. Just like naturally, without really targeting the US, it's really been the main focus, or the place that we've acquired the most users. And that will really be our primary focus for the foreseeable future. So at first we'll focus specifically on New York, and then kind of expand to the app is available globally, and as Lou mentioned earlier, we do have quite like a unique user base in the sense that people do talk to each other quite a lot from different countries. But yeah, the US will be the main focus, really.
It's so exciting. I just wish you so much luck on your journey, and I just can't wait to see what you're going to do next. I really can't. It's brilliant.
Yeah, we're so excited all the time at the moment, aren't we, Lou?
Yeah.
Impressive story so far. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insights. It's been really lovely to spend time with you, and we shall watch you with great interest. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for following Fundraising Stories with Female Founders. This content is all provided to you for free, so if you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe so you never miss another one. Enter the Arena has helped hundreds of female founders fly through pre-raise and investment and onto the exponential growth of their business. Our first-hand experience, expert guidance, and proven programs help female founders unleash the Wonder Woman inside. To see if we can help you do the same, head over to www.enterthearena.co.uk. I'm Julia Elliott Brown, and I look forward to talking with you soon.